Right. Welcome, everyone. So this is our first session of the brainstorming for the November month. So just to set the context, Debate Club is a community of intellectual, people who are looking for intellectual discourse. And we've been conducting the Saturday debates for the past year almost. And the Wednesday sessions are basically set for the brainstorming. And today, every month we have like a topic, and we have like 4 sessions in total, so 4 Wednesdays per month, and then so we have 4 sessions for each topic. And this month we have chosen the topic of how to redefine the law enforcement and justice system in India. Okay, so this is a very, very interesting topic. I mean, something that I have a lot of personal passion for, and hopefully we have like a very productive brainstorming session. So I'll explain how this session is going to happen for people who are new to this um, brainstorming series. So basically, what we'll do is, like, for each session, we'll take a certain, like, subsection of that particular topic, and we'll discuss that. These are meant to be very interactive sessions, so we're not gonna it's not gonna be like, one person talking and everybody else just like listening or something. So we're all gonna be interacting, and we don't have to raise hands and talk and all these things. We can just, like, unmute yourself and speak. So for today's session, so I'll usually, like, share my screen and do things. So I'm gonna quickly share my screen, and we're gonna just, like, create a like a blueprint for how we're going to solve this problem. That's the end goal here. So I hope you guys can see my screen. Okay. So you guys can see my screen now, right? It's basically the Figma file.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is, we'll, at the end of these 4 sessions, we are meant to basically come up with a certain proposal for, like, how we'll actually solve this problem. And it's more like a concept blueprint kind of a thing. It's not like everything is defined here. It's more like a concept proposal. Okay. And if somebody chooses to actually, like, go ahead and implement this, they'll actually be able to refer to the document and do it. So that's the intention behind these sessions. And one of the main reasons we are doing this is because, like, there is not enough spaces for people to come and, I mean, intellectually engage to solve problems. People often, talk to for the sake of, like, speaking and stating their opinions, but very rarely do we find a space where we're operating as a think tank. So it's like an open think tank where each person is like a member of this think tank, and we're able to come together with a solution oriented thinking. um, so we've had a couple of sessions, a couple of topics so far, and this topic is basically, like I said, something that's very necessary in our society, because, like, we don't have an effective law enforcement and justice system in India, first of all. I hope all of us can agree on that. So the first thing that we'll do is, I'm going to, like, list out the agenda for each of these sessions that we're going to have. Um, so the agenda for today's session is going to be identify the problems and define, like, comprehensively define all the pain points associated with the law enforcement and justice system. Okay, this is going to be the first point, and we will discuss the subsequent sections, and that will basically depend on what we come up with on today's session. So the first thing is for us to, like, basically look at, like, this topic and, like, understand, like, what are the things that we identify as problems with the law enforcement and justice system in India. And like I said, this is going to be an interactive session, so I request each of you to sort of, like, contribute to this. So I'm going to, like, list out some things that are off the top of my head. So one of the first things is insufficient literacy of laws in India among the public, the law enforcement officers, I mean, the number of times that I've actually encountered police officers like acting like they're gundas, right? It's kind of crazy. Even they're not really there to, like, sort of enforce laws. They're just there to, like, sort of like be the authority in the space. And a lot of the times you can't really, like, talk to them about, like, the legal points here they, because, like, even they may not be aware, because, like, a lot of the times they're just, like, doing the things that their superiors ask them to do. That's kind of like how it works. And so the insufficient literacy of laws and also insufficient number of law enforcement officers and police stations, opaque process for registering complaints. Yeah, first of all, I wanna like, ask you guys like a bunch of questions. Like, first of all, how many of you have, like, faced first-hand issues with law enforcement or the justice system or anything?
Me, just once.
Okay. Do you want to, like, elaborate on the context, or, I mean, like, it's not too private?
Just 1 second. I'll put on my headphones. You can continue in the meantime.
Yeah. I think somebody else was trying to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm a lawyer myself, so I can probably just give some experience, like, I mean, whatever that I can quite see in courts these days. Like, you've already mentioned one thing, which is the insufficiency of law enforcement officers, and it in fact even depends on the judicial system not being in a position to actually I mean, I must say that judicial backlog is something which is like a daunting scene these
Yeah,
days. Like,
exactly.
so we don't have enough number of judicial officers who can, in that sense, dispose of matters, and considering which the pendency of cases in courts is something which is way more than what it ought to be, in any given situation in any country. So that's also one real aspect, that we don't have many people who would want to, I mean, and there's a dark side to this also, that to a large extent, that a lawyer who makes a lot of money would not want to go to the other side of the bar and serve to meet the ends of justice, is because he doesn't get enough pay. So that's also one aspect which we need to factor in. I mean, not everybody wants to just serve the country without having enough perks with respect to, like, monetary consideration. So that is something also which is required. At the same time, when we are talking about, like, insufficiency of the literacy in these law officers, or maybe even the police, I have seen on most occasions that the evidences get tampered because the cops do not have enough knowledge of how to handle the situation, or when they actually go to the crime scene, they don't have much of a knowledge about how to deal with that situation. And most times it's because of the tampering of evidences that we're not in a position to take the proceedings to a logical judicial conclusion. So that literacy is quite required. But at the same time, when we're talking about this, which I stated even about judicial officers, in fact, what is extremely important in terms of police reforms is that most times, if you go abroad and if you see the the kind of people who are engaged or who are deployed in the like in the police, they are, I mean, they get, yeah, so they get quite a lot of perks, with respect to, like, the basics. I mean, their kids get better education, they have health insurance, they have good insurance which the state provides to them. So a person would want to be a part of such a system. Now, bribes and everything but happen, but the basics do not get met of any of these police officers. So because of which they are not in a position to I mean, the ones who actually want to be in there are not literate enough, and because they're not literate enough, it's something which leads to the system being handicapped forever. So
exactly.
so what we need to kind of understand is that it's not that they do not know it, but it's because not many people who are educated enough would want to go into this system is because they know that, okay, even if I want to be a part of the system, I'm not going to get much in return. Everybody wants rewards, and if there are no rewards involved, a person would not want to be a part of it. So the chunk of people who really want to get in there is very little. Okay, and they are most likely not literate enough is because the literate ones would want to go and get something better in life. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's something which is kind of a vicious cycle, I personally feel, and that's something which leaves our judicial system and the law system in that sense somewhat handicapped. So that's what I would want to just say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Janvi. Actually, I'm really glad that you joined, because like this is we do need like some kind of somebody who's coming in with some amount of expertise on these things. So I'm really glad you joined and you offered your opinions. And actually, so these things, right? This actually, what I would say is like the biggest thing. And you did, Rainer, can you like please hold on? I see that you're raising the hand, but I'll just like finish and then you can speak. So one of the actually this insufficient incentives for qualified people to get in, that's a like system-wide issue that we face in not just this sector. I mean, like even I was seeing like earlier there was like doctors talking about like how they have to leave the country to actually get some real incentives and like work-life balance and all these things. So this is like system-wide. Everybody is like suffering through this.
Correct.
So that's a very good point.
Yeah.
So now I think Rainer, you have a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for noticing. I have a question. I'm not from India, but is it okay if I still participate in this meeting?
That's fine, but just can you introduce yourself? Like, where are you from? And
yeah. Hello, I'm Rainer Winkler. I'm from Mecklenburg-Vorpommern in Germany. It's a nice city. And what's most important for me is like a slang we use in our city. It's like called Scheiß am Boden verschmieren. It means I'm highly motivated to learn new cultures. So yeah, I love Scheiß am Boden verschmieren. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a bad word, because I know a little bit of German. It sounds like Scheiße is like shit or something, right?
No, it's a local slang. It's not mean, but I know it's confusing, but it's a local slang.
No worries, no worries. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What do you need more to say? I'm glad to be here and participating in this great meeting. Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware of the context of this session? Like what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, you are trying to do a better life quality in India, right? And
No,
about
we
the
have
justice system.
We have a very specific topic. I'm not really sure if you went through the event description for this. So we're basically talking about redefining the law enforcement justice system in India. It's not about the quality of it's a very, very specific topic. This is about the law enforcement and the justice system. And every month we choose a topic and we have these brainstorming sessions where we come together and discuss the problem, the details of it, and then like figure out a way to solve it. So that's the intention behind this. So you can listen in, and if you're new to this, you can listen in and then you can participate if you have anything to add to it.
Yeah, but I have a question in
Go
the
ahead.
forehand. Like, is it about policemen? You don't like policemen or what?
So law enforcement is they are the cops, and then the police stations. Any kind of like
the cops.
I mean, okay, okay. So we try to like not engage in profanities. So keep the language clean. But it's not about these kind of opinions. It's more about like how do we, because like as a society we have these systems in place that there is a purpose why law enforcement exists. Because like if you want to like run a society in an organized fashion, you definitely need laws, and you need efficient and effective law enforcement. That has to be there. Otherwise, like you cannot have like order and structure in a society. So law enforcement has to exist. And this context of this call is specific to India, where we are looking at like the problems that exist in Indian law enforcement and Indian justice apparatus. So in an ideal society, you want to have the law enforcement and justice to operate in a way that favors the people who are of the society, so that like you can actually have a functioning system, so that like you can feel safe. You have to feel safe. And so that's the idea behind this. So we're in this session. So we have like every Wednesday, 7 p.m. IST, we have these sessions. And for this month, we'll have 4 sessions. And this first session is all about like identifying the problems and like sort of prioritizing them. So that in the next upcoming sessions, we can talk about like how do we solve these problems. Okay, so that's the, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I want to say something like about the German police and about the German justice system as well. I don't know, do you know the right-wing party in Germany, like the AfD, Alternative for Germany? They don't want any immigrants, and but there's still coming many immigrants, and I don't like them too. Maybe we can talk about this as well. I don't like people that are not me, like not like me, you know.
Okay, that's I don't know if that's the scope of the topic, because like you can see the title is basically it's about India, so we're going to focus on the India specific topics. But you're free to observe, and if you have any specific, you can add it. Yeah, Ashwin, I see that you raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to say that few points. One is cops get transferred if they try to be honest. Actually, I mean there are members of the parliament or the chief minister or what do you say, home minister, who can transfer them. If to put whoever who is in favor of them to solve a particular case in a particular region, actually.
Yeah.
And number 2 is.
Rainer, if you could please like keep yourself muted, that'll be very helpful. Go ahead, Ashwin. Sorry.
Number 2 is the aid with AI. If AI can be aided to tackle scenarios. For example, a policeman snatches your camera when you're recording them. I mean, is that legal or illegal? What punishment is given to them? Like somebody, no action can be taken on one cop, but an action can be taken on another cop. So that shouldn't happen. I mean, the rules should be the same, and the same punishment should be given to anyone if the situation is the same. So if AI is aided, like artificial intelligence, I mean, it's already been used in US actually. And number 3 is my out-of-the-box thinking actually, is I would like to propose a rule which says that, let's say if a cop tries to beat you up or something, you cannot resist. Like lathi charges and things like that. I mean, even if they are wrong, if you try to prove them wrong, I mean, they will beat you up. Let's say if you can somehow defend yourself and if you offend them, and if you can later prove in court that they were wrong, I mean, no punishment should be given to you. Like you should be in a position to like offend them and be in an aggressive attacking position to suppress the people who are in power. And if you can later prove it in court, I mean, all charges should be dropped against you. As of now, no such provision exists in the Indian Constitution, perhaps in no other constitutions of any countries, which gives rights to a common man to defend themselves from being abused. This is just out of the box thinking. It's just not only for law enforcement officers, but if you, let's say, if you have a tenant in your house, I mean, you rent out your place, you have a tenant in your house, it can take even 8 to 10 years to kick them out if they're not paying rent or something. Like in another case, it can take even just 6 months. But whatever is the thing, and you won't even get the rent during that period. The rent will be going to the court. So you have to live out of your own money. And people take advantages of the rules. So if you can prove whatever is right, I mean, if the law is very slow, I mean, if the judicial system is very slow and not necessarily if it is just corrupt, but even if it is slow, I mean, you should be in a position to take things into your own hands. That's it from
So
me.
I mean, what do you mean if it is slow? It is slow. Everybody knows that it's like extremely slow. It's way too slow. So yeah, I mean, I understand those points. I think Janvi, can you like explain your expertise? Like, are you a criminal lawyer or like what kind of a lawyer are you? Janvi, can you hear me? You're on mute. Okay, is there anybody else here who has like expertise with law? Okay, maybe she was the only one. I think she has. I'm not sure if she's listening in or not. Okay, so because like the reason why I'm asking is that one of the things is that it's really crazy that we know a lot more about the U.S. law and the rights that people have compared to India, because like in the US, like we've all seen these, like, the popular culture. They talk about the, Fifth Amendment rights, or like, keeping your silence is your right. And then they have to read your Miranda rights before they arrest you or something. And and then like you have all these other things. Like, for example, if somebody else is in your physical property and they are threatening you, you have the right to defend yourself through offense. So for example, like, there was a situation where there was a guy who was a employee of Target in the US, and there was a customer who was like, coming. She was a woman, and she's coming and like threatening, she's intimidating, because like she felt like they were ripping her off or something. And she kept like charging into him through his office, and even though she didn't touch him or anything, he basically punched her in the face, and he got away with it because like she was like in his face, and like she was like in a very intimidating manner. So because they had that video, basically he got out through for no charges. But in India, like, I don't know what would be the case, because like we don't have any kind of like public literacy of the laws and your rights as a citizen. I've actually encountered scenarios where, like, for example, I was actually just like taking a video of the streets and stuff to like sort of like show to somebody who's never been to Chennai. And as I was walking by, like there was a cop in the side, and then like I got followed by a couple of other cops, and they basically like asked to see my phone, and they deleted all the videos because like the cop was in that video, and apparently like they don't want any kind of like press or negative publicity. So they snatched my phone, they took photos of my Aadhaar card and everything, and they basically like there was no sort of like like there are words like probable cause and like search warrants, but these things don't have any meaning in our country. Okay, so all these things like fall under this particular problem of insufficient literacy of laws. And as citizens, we don't know what's going on. And as the cops, like I said, they're mostly like like uniformed thugs. And it seems really unfair to say it like that, but it is what it is, because like a lot of them just don't know what the laws are, but they have to like obey their superiors, and everybody has like a superior. So at the very highest levels, if you know people at the very highest level, you can do anything you want, because like they'll call, and then they'll basically like sort out the um, whoever is in charge in your locality. So they have this like hierarchy of I would say like it's almost like slavery, where all these are like it's a hierarchy of slaves that they're disconnected from the law system, but they just have to like enforce whatever is being told by their superiors. This is how I've seen things, and I would like to see if like anybody disagrees with this. But yeah, this whole problem is maybe the fundamental issue, because like nobody knows what their rights are, and even the cops don't know what is actually the process.
I'll tell you two incidents.
Mhm.
One is my neighbor of mine. She went to the police station to pay this thing, no parking ticket actually.
Mhm.
And he said, okay, why don't you pay a little less and pay me, but I won't give you a ticket. She
Mhm.
said, no, I wanted the ticket.
Mhm.
And then she started recording, and he openly said,
Mhm.
the press has been here and they've done nothing. What can I do with this video? He openly said that. He didn't even snatch the phone. And the other neighbor of mine, he was like extorted twice or thrice. He paid 75,000 rupees bribe for not getting arrested. I mean, if they simply arrest you, they keep you for 1 week, and you lose 1 week of your time outside. You're in the lockup, actually, police station lockup. You'll be, and even if there is no some bullshit case against you, you will still be inside for 1 week. That is enough to deter you from. That is enough to convince you to pay a bribe. That's how they extort money. And also, there was one income tax officer who exposed some scams in India, actually, 10 years ago. He was killed. The CBI walked in and they took the video camera of what was in his house. let's say a CCTV camera. When they returned it to his father, I mean, the CCTV footage was empty. It was all deleted videos. That's what happened. I mean, they just take the camera and as in your case, they just delete the videos or whatever and they give it back to you. Like it's illegal. You can't do anything.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these incidents
She
happen.
came back. Janvi came back actually.
Okay, and I want to, like, you know, I think the process here is basically that we will basically try to summarize or, like, you know, document the issues, not in like individual instances, but like in a general, you know, like an abstract way, so that like we can actually cover a lot of instances of this issue. So we can all, like, you know, share instances, but like we'll have to, like, you know, figure out a way to summarize it in a proper way. Yeah, Janvi, go ahead.
Yeah, so all I was saying is that, you know, I'm sorry, I just got a call, so I couldn't like hear you all properly. But from whatever little that I could hear, that, you know, it was basically that you guys are trying to, I mean, what you guys stated here was about the fact that, you know, these policemen or, like, you know, the lawyers, somebody's in fact right now just posted a question saying that are there government lawyers for free? So just, you know, to answer these two questions especially, see, the first thing is that the cops end up, you know, not doing their job properly or demand bribes is all because, you know, see, if you get good rewards and if you enjoy your work, you would not want to try and, you know, make a way out to get more money out of it. If at all that you are good with your work, if you get good pay, if you're rewarded well, you would want to do your work with utmost honesty.
Yeah.
Here the problem is that because there is insufficiency of incentives, people who get in there are not the ones who are qualified enough. So if you're not qualified, you would not know things at hand, you would not know that what are the protocols that need to be followed, and you would in that sense not work properly and end up in fact in some sense you know, deteriorating the system by asking for bribe and money. Having said that, what is really required according to me is that, you know, if as a system, I mean, if the government in that sense really puts in uh, some kind of a thought to making this system, I mean, the way that the cops work, if they are given better training, if their fitness levels are kept in check, if their rewards are kept in check, I'm sure that, you know, the person who's engaged in such a service would not want to not work properly or would not want to, you know, show dishonesty. So that's extremely important per my understanding. Second aspect, somebody who's asked this question that whether there are government lawyers for free. So yes, we do have the legal aid system. Okay, so there is something known as the district legal aid system and the national legal aid system also. So there is an act to that effect. Okay, so every court has a district. I mean, every district has a district legal aid services authority act. And at the national level, where the High Courts and the Supreme Court is concerned, we do have a legal aid system, which is, I mean, a legal aid authority act, which governs people who get free legal aid. And in especially in the legal aid authority, you as a woman, you get free legal aid irrespective of your income or your, you know, I mean, if at all that you just as a woman make an application, you are entitled to get free legal aid. As far as other male candidates are concerned, you have to basically meet the parameters under the act, wherein if you are of a reserved category of, you know, if you're a candidate of a reserved category, you are entitled to get free legal aid. Or if you you know, if you are economically backward, then also you are entitled to get free legal aid. Now the difficulty most times what happens is that yes, we do have this system, okay, which is pretty much a good system, and people do repose faith in legal aid authority, because the legal aid authority does do some good work. The difficulty that we as lawyers who are, you know, empaneled with the legal aid, we face that, you know, a lot of times the assistance that we need to get from the investigating authorities is insufficient, and because of that we are not in a position to represent our client or our candidate in the best possible manner. So it again boils down to the same aspect that it's really required that lawyers, judges, and the investigating authorities, which obviously includes the police, they need to have, some sort of a cooperation. And when all three, work properly simultaneously to their best, uh, you know, uh, to their best, then we can, in some sense, keep this system intact. Otherwise, it's really not possible. It's really not possible if only one person is, putting in the hard work and has no assistance from anybody else. Because both these, I mean, these three things especially go hand in hand. So if the police are not doing their job properly, a lawyer is not in a position to, give best justice to his client. And if he is not in a position to present his case properly, the judge cannot really give, I mean, he cannot properly adjudicate the matter. So it's something which needs to go hand in hand. That's what I personally feel.
Okay, what were the three things that you mentioned? Like, you mean these three, right? The police and the
Correct.
lawyers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the judiciary. So a lot of times it happens that, even if you see that if the police has done his or her proper investigation in the matter, if the lawyer has also presented the case properly, a lot of times even we see this from the bench also. I mean, it shouldn't be like, like none of us is so alien to this particular fact that, which remains in our country, that sometimes even the judges are not competent enough to, understand. It is a thing. It is a thing that, sometimes even the judges are not, because sometimes they are a product of, let's understand that, they are uh, a lot of times it happens that somebody who is not really good with his practice is, forced to get into judiciary because of his contacts, and, because the person knows that, okay, I'm not doing fairly well in my practice as a lawyer, let me just get there so that I get some name and fame. But when it comes to real competence, the person sometimes lacks real competence. And this is especially the case in lower judicial, at a lower judicial stages. Maybe a high court judge or a supreme court judge would not face these issues, but if you go and, if you have to appear before, like, the civil judge junior division, senior division, or like, magistrate courts, it's something which you can actually see. I mean, there's another real reason for this is because, the civil judge junior division, senior division, and the magistrate courts, these are appointed by an exam, and most times, like, even a fresher can be a part of these exams and can clear these exams, and, without any practice, any experience whatsoever, holds a position as a judicial officer. Now tell me something, that if a person has not even seen how the system works, is it really possible for somebody who's just out of law school can do justice to a matter purely based on theory? It's not possible, because he would not know what are the nuances, what exactly, happens in a system like that. A lot of times,
Kind of
like
like
23, 24-year-old kids, just based on pure preparation from exam point of view, would clear exams and, are appointed as magistrates or are appointed as civil judges, and they would not know anything. A lot of times it happens so that, the lawyer will say something, and because they are clueless, they don't know, and the matters get adjourned, and they get adjourned and over adjourned and over adjourned because they lack experiences themselves. So they do
it's
not
kind of
want to.
like like with doctors, when they qualify, they have to, like, spend a certain amount, like, as a resident, where
Correct.
they're following the to understand how things work. Yeah.
Right. So in that case, what happens is, like, if suppose, like, now, in fact, our former Chief Justice T.S. Thakur was one of the Chief Justices of India, who had in fact come up with this idea that no, it's really required, especially when it comes to, lower judicial exams, that we should have this parameter, and we should have the criteria that at least there has to be a minimum experience of, say, 3 years or 5 years before you are eligible to, participate in exams like these. Because if you don't have that experience, you are not going to be in a position to really do justice, because you are yourself a fresher, you are yourself trying to figure things out. I mean, somebody straight out of law school at the age of 23, 25, I know people who qualified these exams purely based on their understanding of law and the theory of law. But law is honestly, like, when we use the word practice as an advocate, and that I practice at the High Court, I practice at the Supreme Court, the word practice in itself means that yes, you are learning every day. That's when it's called practice. I mean, we as lawyers especially, we learn every day. Every single day there is something which we learn. So it's so important that that there has to be a better police reforms, I feel, to train the cops. B, I personally feel that the lower judicial exams need some sort of a revision when it comes to the eligibility criteria of the students who can participate, or the candidates who can participate. And three, with respect to the judiciary, I feel that even in higher judiciary, I mean, of course, we all know that there is there is participation of the Supreme Court, to appoint judges at the High Court level. But having said that, a lot of times the judges who are picked up from, say, the lower judiciary, it's extremely important that there has to be no nepotism, there has to be no nothing in respect to a person who's known to somebody and because of contacts being appointed. There has to be a proper strict procedure which needs to be followed when it even comes to higher judiciary appointment of judges. So these are the three things which I feel if we have, we can better redefine our legal system and the judicial system also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to ask you, like, what is your specific, I guess, like, division of law that you practice? Is it criminal law, or is it like civil law? What is it?
So, Raghav, I practice at the Bombay High Court. Okay, so Bombay High Court has this, I mean, this even has, like, a lot of other high courts also do have this thing called counsel practice. So counsel practice is basically when the attorneys from law firms, or like an individual advocate, when briefs the counsel doesn't file his or her own wakalatnama and is not in direct touch with the client, but is the face of the matter, goes and argues the matter before the court. So I'm into counsel practice. The chunk of work which I mostly get is criminal. You can say that 70% briefing that I get from the law firms and the advocates is civil litigation, but 30%, yes, I do have a chunk of criminal litigation also on me.
Okay.
So I have a fair experience of civil and criminal laws.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We have a couple of people waiting. I would appreciate if, like, people don't take too much time. So Ashwin, please go ahead.
Yeah, Janvi, actually, the question we had for you is, do we have the right to defend ourselves and counterattack the policemen when they come to abuse us in the streets or whatever, in the police stations or whatever, was my first question. And number two is, I believe even Supreme Court judges, they are well paid and they still take bribe, is the number two thing I would like to say. And number three is, isn't there a requirement for a judge to be, a public advocate before becoming a judge? I believe only public advocates can become judges. Please correct me if I'm wrong. These are the three things I wanted to say.
Yeah, before Janvi, you answer, like, I want to just like punctuate on the first point, because like one of the things that we were talking when you were not available is that a lot of the times, like, we are more aware of, like, the laws in the US because through popular culture, right? Like if you like watch some courtroom dramas from the US, like, or some other, like, movies, right? You get to see their process where they before they arrest somebody, they have to, like, read the Miranda rights or something, and then they also have to, like, they cannot search your house or your property, like, without having a search warrant. And you can also, like, defend yourself at your home. If you are at your home and somebody is an intruder at your home and they're trying to attack you, then you have the right to defend them. Even if you had to, like, kill them, you would not be charged for it. So things like these are very common, like common knowledge, even for people around the world, of like how things happen in the US. But here we do have, like, a certain lack of, like, public literacy of, like, what the individual rights are. And I also just to maybe while you answer, Ashwin, you can also talk about the right to defend yourself. How does that apply?
I mean, this is just a proposal from me. This is just out of the box thinking. Let's say that if a policeman
Ashwin,
comes
Ashwin, just let her respond to those things, and then you can talk about your proposal.
Yeah, sure.
With respect to defending yourself, yes, a person in his own personal capacity can defend himself. You just have to, seek leave of the court saying that I would want to defend myself in the court of law. The second question that you posed was with respect to the judges of, even Supreme Courts and, being paid and yet wanting to, yet uh, indulging into bribe taking and all. See, honestly, I do not want to comment on this, is because this is something which is extremely subjective. I do not have enough knowledge about the fact that such things do happen at the Supreme Court level. Having said that also, but there is something which of course I know of, is that the judges are being pressured left, right and center. I mean,
okay, Janvi,
yeah,
just couple of things. First of all, I hope everybody is aware that this session is being recorded and we'll be posting it on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel where we post these sessions.
correct.
That is okay. That's knowledge. And then second thing is, I think you mistook the first question, which was that right to defend yourself, not in court. I'm talking about, for example, if somebody comes to your home and they're attacking you, what do you
okay,
how do you defend yourself?
Okay, so as far as that aspect is concerned, honestly, during COVID time, I had in fact, recorded a couple of videos only for for some law students to, have some knowledge on this aspect, that, as citizens, we don't really know much about law. Okay, I mean, a lot of times it so happens that we are not aware of the basics, as in nobody can arrest a woman without a woman constable is required if after sunset and if before sunset, what you need to know these concepts, as in you need to really know the basics of law. So there are certain things what are cognizable offenses, what are non-cognizable offenses, what are bailable offenses, what are non-bailable offenses. With respect to non-bailable offenses, many people feel that okay, non-bailable offenses means you will never get bail in an offense. I mean, if you've committed non-bailable offense, means you don't get bail. So these are or compoundable offenses, non-compoundable offenses. These are real basics which as citizens we really need to know, but we don't know them. Now, in fact, earlier also I mentioned that what I'm talking about as police reforms, these are certain things which sometimes even cops don't know.
Yeah.
And that's something which is extremely, it's disgraceful that if the cops don't know about certain things, or in fact if they know and as individuals we don't know about them. So the awareness is extremely important. It's extremely important. Like I know a lot of times, the cops take undue advantage of the person's lack of knowledge with respect to most things. I mean, in a bailable offense, it's as a matter of right that you can, just by signing bail bond, you're out of the police, out of the police station in no time. If you are furnishing surety and if you're just signing the bail bond in a bailable offense, as a matter of right, you can come out. But the cops don't tell this to somebody who is really in need of, in that situation, the cops will not tell you, and they will probably misrepresent what you've done. They'll tell you something which is absolutely unknown to you only so that they can make money out of it.
This is the case where in the US they always they'll immediately request for the lawyer and they're required to provide you with a lawyer, and that's where these things can be prevented.
Correct.
So
but Raghav, why does that happen? I mean, if you have my brother lives in the US and I visit the US at least once every year, okay, and I have seen this. Especially the difference is because the system there works efficiently is because those cops actually get good pay, and there are better officers who are employed in those services. Like today, we would not want to send our kids to be a constable in the police. Why? Because we know that he's not going to have a good life. Like, let's face it, but we would not want our kids to be a part of the system because we know that they will never be in a position to make good money or have a good life for themselves. I mean,
it's basically
because of that.
the carrot and the stick, like
Correct.
everybody needs an incentive and
Exactly.
and it's
Exactly.
punishments also like because like in the US, like you can get sued and it'll work efficiently because like there is a
Absolutely.
certain trust in the system that
Absolutely.
people can.
See, my
So
my brother is in the insurance. Okay, like I mean, he is in, like, he knows a lot about insurance, and he was telling me that, as a matter of fact, that, in the US, they make sure that every other cop, okay, he gets the basics, which is a good medical insurance, good student, I mean, uh, that, like, their kids are sent to good schools, and they make sure that, they're provided with education loans if required. They get good perks when it comes to, their housing, or, their, like house insurance, fire insurance. They get all these perks, so they are in that sense very secure in their heads when it comes to, their own lives. So if you're secure in your own head, you would want to do good to your job. You would want to really do well. Okay, I mean, you would want to work with utmost honesty. And that's how, that's exactly when the cops can also make people aware of their own rights, because the cop doesn't feel the need to cheat the citizens. If he doesn't feel the need to cheat the citizens, he will tell that, yes, you have a right to get bail in this situation. But in our country, that doesn't happen. The cop would want to fool the person who's in the police station, because he knows that he can make money out of it. So, it's something that awareness is extremely important. I'm glad that we're having a session like this. At least some, people can really raise their concerns when it comes to knowing more things. I mean, in compoundable offenses, yes, you can, compounding of offenses is basically that, yes, you can settle the offense outside of court. We actually have list of offenses which are compoundable in nature. So if two parties really want to settle them outside of the court, these offenses are I mean something like that can really happen. But people are not aware. People don't know about it. I mean, these are basics. These are really basics, but we don't know about that.
Yeah, and I
Now,
think the general. I mean, the way that I envision a solution for this is basically that you have to. You can't. These are like systemic issues. You can't like blame the individuals as part of the system, like, because like I know that the cops are also like in a certain
correct.
sense they're a victim of this whole apparatus, because
They
like
are.
if you
They
if you're
are.
a if you're a lone cop, like who's an honest cop, you have to basically like fit into the existing structure or the
Exactly.
hierarchy. So they have to be corrupt to actually like rise up the ranks.
Correct,
And
correct. So that's also a big thing. And sometimes, I mean, this is going to be something which I mean, I don't personally feel right to say this, but a lot of times I feel that, it's important that, these issues are also brought on social media, because now if you see, especially Gen Zs and, the new generations, they are into social media. And somehow all that we see new generation really doing with social media is watching reels. It's better that if you are actually creating content which can, make which are making rounds of the internet, of the social media, and it'll just be so that, a person can, while if you're making a reel on this, a person would probably want to know, okay, like while watching it, a person can get some knowledge. So I feel that there is nothing. I mean, we can use social media, internet, to really expand the horizons, and, to make people aware of what these laws are about. I mean, the basics are about. So something like that can be done, so that, like how Ashwin just asked me this question, that whether you can defend yourself. Yes, you can, but people don't know that, because it's only because of lack of knowledge that people can't. People
So
don't.
can I beat up the policeman if he comes to beat me up? Can I beat him up? Can I fire at him if I have a gun? What will happen
See,
to me?
no. So that's exactly when. If at all that a cop who's on duty, okay, and if he wants to beat you up, uh, a you know, I mean, if he tries to do something to you without really establishing why he's doing it, okay. So when it comes to, say, cognizable offenses, yes, a cop has the authority to arrest a person immediately. But if without making an arrest, if he's just trying to beat you up, no, he cannot in law. And in law, he cannot do that. He cannot. Okay. But when it comes to him doing it and you doing something to him, what will happen is that, of course, he's going to levy charges on you under various sections of the the criminal code, saying that you have done something to an officer on duty. So I quite see your concern when you're saying this, when you're asking this question to me. What needs to be done in a situation like that is, I mean, I'm glad that now, I don't know if you people are aware of this, but Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Procedure Code, and the Indian Evidence Act have now been revised to new laws. Okay, so it's the BNSs. So basically, the new acts, okay, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Okay, so that these new acts, they do take care of these things. Okay, like especially now there are new offenses which are introduced uh with different punishments. Okay, like if an offense is not of a very grave nature, the punishments are revised. There is leniency of punishments. There are better laws for the protection of the convicts in jail. Because see, we have to understand this also, that a lot of times a person who's say innocent, if he's put in jail, the possibility of that person then becoming a criminal is way higher. Okay, because anybody, a lot of times this happens, that somebody who's absolutely innocent, if he's subjected to that atmosphere, he is going to become a criminal by the end of it. So the new laws are taking care of this, that people are, in that sense, uh, I mean, people have better rights when it comes to situations like these. The accused have better rights when it comes to some cops trying to do something to them, or like are trying to act in excess of their authority. So yes, we do have better laws now. I mean, I'm just hopeful, fingers crossed, that the laws get implemented better, in a better way. So let's hope that that happens. Okay, but yes, like how Raghav mentioned, that when it comes to we watching some courtroom drama on Netflix, and seeing what happens in the US, we are well aware of those laws, and we don't know much about our own country. So that is very much required. Okay, that really is required, I feel. And I'm so sorry, Ashwin, but I forgot your third question.
Yeah, no.
We've gone back and forth. I think Prince has been waiting to speak. Prince, you want to go next?
Please.
Yeah, thanks, Raghu. First of all, if there is any background noises, then I'm sorry for that. I'm not at my place. First of all, I guess we all need to establish that the judges in the magistrate courts are like they are administrative services officers, and I don't think we should expect much from them. Whatever they are doing is already more than I guess their potential. Now, one of the major issues that comes into my mind when speaking of the issues in judicial system is the quote that William Gladstone gave in the House of Commons, that justice delayed is justice denied. Now, it's a great opportunity for me because Ms. Janvi is here, who is serving in Bombay High Court, and the fact that a case whose judgment was passed yesterday only by a 9-member bench judicial court, and I guess CGI was also a member of that whole bench, where a law existed earlier where the state government can kind of seize private property by giving, I guess, 100 months rent worth of money, and they can do that solely under the pretext of serving the common. Now, they were doing this because in Article 39B, this material resource of community is mentioned, and the redistribution of wealth. Janvi is more aware of it. I can never know more about Constitution than a lawyer. So the fact that this case was filed in around 1990s, and the judgment that we have received is in 2024, I guess, of November 5th. the sole pretext of this is, so wrong that it's taking the, and with due respect to the Honorable High Court and the judges, because they have finally given judgment, it took us 3 decades to, kind of interpret a simple constitutional provision. Now, what are the implications of this is encounters in the country are, hailed even more, because the people can see that it takes about 3 to 4 decades for a simple case or a simple judgment to be passed. It was also so in the case of uh, the Delhi rape case that everyone is aware of. So this, kind of increases the cases of extrajudicial killings and extrajudicial, let's say, adjustments. And when these things are on a rise, then it clearly shows that the trust of people in the judicial system is on a decline, which is neither good for the judiciary nor for the whole democracy as such, because the judiciary needs to survive and survive with on the trust of the citizens for the whole country to function and the whole state machinery to work as per the ideas of constitutionalism. So this whole idea that it takes 3 decades for a simple judgment, or when I don't know, should I mention this case or not, but the whole murder after the Nupur case incident in Rajasthan, we have direct evidence in the form of video recording, and still the court is not able to pass a judgment. These kind of actions, don't you think, reduce the trust of the popular road against the way the judiciary works and the great time they take in taking decisions? Yeah, Raghav.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think I would summarize the whole issue as a delay in justice, and of course, it's like honestly, like, the scariest thing about living in this country is that somebody could file a case against you, and you could be, like, out of commission for a long time. Actually, there's a lot. I need to also, like, mention that we need to get some statistics on some of these things. I would love to get some assistance on getting the statistics on some things, like, for example, the number of people in jail waiting for their trial.
You're
I've seen, like,
gonna get
people
shocked.
people spend, like, several years, several decades just waiting for their trial to start, and it's kind of crazy. Like, you could be arrested for something that was not your fault, and by the time you're given justice, right, you already served a sentence for a crime that you haven't committed. And things like the number of police stations, the number of I guess, like, the ratio of cops to citizen, and the ratio of courts to citizens and courts to cases that are filed. So these kind of, like, statistics will give us like a tangible, like data on,
Raghav,
like, where we need to focus on, prioritize on. Yeah.
I'm actually so sorry to interrupt, but just to add to what you were saying, 75% of the people in Indian jails on 31st December 2022 were under trials, and they were not actually proven guilty.
Can you, like, provide the source for this and the stuff in the chat? Just, like, put it in the,
I can. Yeah, I can share.
Okay. I think, Ashwin, you have your hand raised as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The previous question to Janvi was, isn't it a requirement for judges to be public prosecutors before they can become judges, is my first question. And second question is, under what circumstance can lie detector test be conducted? I mean, there are two types of tests. One is where they inject you with some liquid and you go into some half dreamy world. And the other one is the one with the brain sensors.
Yeah, so Ashwin, the first question that you asked was regarding the judges. So, see, no, a defense lawyer also can be a judge. It's not that you have to be a public prosecutor before becoming a judge. You can, of course, be elevated even though you were a defense lawyer. That's not, it's not a requirement that you have to serve the state per se. And secondly, with respect to your question about lie detector tests, see, there was a very landmark judgment of Salvi versus State of Karnataka. Okay. If possible, I'll try and pull that out and I'll share it on our group.
Telgi,
See,
the person who printed stamps, right? Stamp paper.
No, so Selvi versus State of Karnataka was, it basically stated that, a lie detector test cannot be administered. I mean, a person cannot be subjected to such a test without without the accused consenting to that test. So if the accused consents and says that, yes, I am okay with undergoing a test like that, it's only then that, a lie detector test can be performed on that particular accused. But without his consent, it's unconstitutional and it's against his right to privacy. All right. So right to life and privacy both, actually. And also under Article 23, which talks about the self-incrimination. Like a person cannot be, uh, you know, subjected to say something which can self-incriminate him. So that's a very landmark judgment, in fact. And so a lie detector test cannot be performed as a matter of right. It cannot be like, okay, like the cops can't ask for performance of lie detector test on an accused just as a matter of right. If he's not consenting to it, a person cannot. Like no court is going to ever otherwise grant you that leave.
Okay, but Janvi, in the police stations, the police themselves, they torture those who are inside the police lockup or something
Correct.
to confess, right? That is absolutely illegal, right?
Absolutely, and that's the reason that under the Indian Evidence Act, any confession given in the presence of the police or in like to the police or in the presence of the police is inadmissible in evidence. That's the only reason that it's inadmissible in evidence.
So aren't there cameras to record these things in the police station, and later can't you take action on the police legally?
See, the thing is that most times cops know, okay, they know how to tackle that. They know exactly how to torture a person. They know exactly what are the blind spots in a police station, like. And most times, like, because they are frustrated in their lives because of several things that they're not really happy with their own lives, that they end up taking that frustration out on the accused. It's a very common thing. Like somebody's not had a good day at home, or they have their own troubles at home. Okay, they have really insufficient resources to meet the needs of their family, because of which they are having pressures of their own. They end up really taking that frustration out on the accused. This happens on multiple occasions, and that's the reason when I said that there are new laws now which are introduced which take care of this, especially especially this fact that the accused is not subjected to torture, and if at all that he is, then what needs to be done to protect the rights of the accused. So there are now these laws. I'm just hopeful that they're implemented in the best possible way, because they do provide for good assistance to the accused.
Actually, do we have the US, like they had this like landmark initiative of setting up cameras on every individual cop, and the cop cars always have like cameras, and the cops themselves have to have the cameras on at all times, especially when they are like making an arrest or something like that. And I don't know, in India, do we even have like cameras in all police stations? First of all, we don't even have that.
Yeah, we don't even have cameras in all police stations. We don't even have cameras which are functional most times, even if they
Yeah,
are installed.
the camera that is in the street in front of my house, it's non-functional already.
Exactly. So we have these issues. Okay, we don't have. I mean, I feel that it all boils down to, like, the gap between the rich and the poor is so much that our government is not in a position to make sure that the money and the resources are actually spent on these things, and to make sure that these things are in place and the system is in check. That never happens in our country. That's really a problem. Really a problem.
Yeah.
Most times, even in courts, it happens. So that the judges were really forced to adapt to technology amid COVID. Otherwise, the whole paperwork was thing. But thanks to COVID that, judges e-filing started, which made things easier. So, I mean, these are really some important changes which were required, and now we have those. But likewise, it's important that, these installation of cameras, them working at all times, it's important.
And also,
Janvi, I remember you say something like judges are pressured to give statements in some form. By whom and in what way, and what will happen to them if they don't give it in that way? Can you, if you don't mind?
See, it's not like statements, but a lot of times judges are threatened, they are pressurized, they are,
By whom?
also, see, people who are really in power. I mean, I must not say these things, but there have been times where really powerful people have influenced the judicial system, and judges have got transferred overnight before passing verdicts. This has happened. Like, this happens like left, right, and center in our country. Like,
I guess this is evident from the Porsche incident of Pune.
Yeah, I mean, my simple question is, what will happen to them if they go against the people in power? I mean, they have police protection, like at least on superficially, they have police protection.
See, that superficially they have, but see, at the end of the day, every person just wants to make sure that, he is or his family is not being threatened. I mean, something may not happen to him, to the judge, okay, him or her, like the judge himself or herself, but something can happen to their family. People feel that pressure, or it may not happen like immediately, but it may happen like after a couple of years when, nobody remembers anything.
Also, I remember a case where one judge of, I guess, High Court or Supreme Court, I'm not actually sure, he met with a heart attack while traveling to a certain place just after he gave a certain judgment.
Okay. So,
and like there was, of course, it was a very unnatural heart attack, and there were several. It is not proven, but so it will, kind of go in as conspiracy theory itself that maybe he was quote unquote killed. Again, no proofs, a conspiracy theory.
and also one other thing is like, you keep hearing this phrase of like innocent until proven guilty. But in India, what is it? I have no idea. Like, what is it in India? Like, is it like guilty until proven innocent, or what is that?
See, it has to be innocent until proven guilty, but yeah, the outlook of most people is that, it's guilty until proven innocent.
But what is the official, like, the formal, what is the
Formal
status?
is, of course, innocent until proven guilty.
I see.
Every person is innocent until proven guilty.
The French law says, in France, I'm saying, that is the opposite.
Okay. But it doesn't feel like that, like why would these many people be, in prison and undergoing punishment if that was true, that they're innocent until proven guilty, because the proof comes under the successful completion of the trial. But without the proof, they are like, suffering, right? So there is no, I don't think it is enforced. I think there is a huge gap between what's on paper and what's on the ground. And that is probably one of the biggest complaints that I would say we have. But anyway, I think we've I guess like we've collated a lot of like points, and I think whatever we've discussed, right, I think it falls into one of these or the other. Like I said, the objective of this session is to like come up with like a proposal at the end where we have like like a prioritized list of initiatives that would enforce that the biggest chunks of the problems are solved. So that is the goal of these sessions. Okay. And I know that these are interesting conversations. We may go into tangents and stuff, but I think I want to keep the focus of the discussion to enforceable, like, kind of a proposal. So
number one thing is surveillance, I believe. Surveillance.
You're talking about solutions, like
surveillance, like video cameras, audio recordings.
No, are you saying like that is the number one solution that we have to implement, or is the number one problem that we're encountering? What is
it's the number one, I would say, point to tackle the inefficiency of the judicial system. I mean, to collect evidence, I would say.
So you're saying it as a solution. You're saying that if you have surveillance, these problems will be solved. That's what you're saying.
It's not completely, but at least come down.
Okay, but there is another notion to the surveillance, because like we could also talk about like state surveillance of citizens. That is a problem. But anyway, I don't think that is the scope of what you're saying. Anyway,
No, I mean, you were video recording, right? So you should be allowed to record. If somebody snatches your phone and you're able to prove it in court, like they should be punished. Like that is the thing that I'm telling.
Yeah, and you know what? In the US, right? Like they have this law that you can record. It actually there are active groups of people whose explicit purpose is to go and like record police activity, so that like they can keep the police accountable, and they are like allowed to do this legally.
The press is allowed to record, right? I mean, if you have a press card or something, Janvi, what are the rules? May I ask you again?
The recording is in the gray zone because their right to privacy comes into effect. That whether the person whom you're recording is, kind of giving you the permission or not.
Yeah, I believe the press have some powers. Janvi, are you there?
It's not about the press. I'm saying like in the US, right? The general public have this. Like you can be like a general citizen and you can do this. They can't stop you. They are explicitly prohibited from stopping you.
An individual is a journalist. There is no such thing called, I can claim myself I'm a part of the media. There is no such thing called
no. Media people have separate identity cards.
No, you're talking about Janvi again. India.
Janvi, what are the rules for the press? Can you please answer this question for me?
Sorry, what's your question, if I may? Because see, people were talking and I was just actually reading what Raghav was trying to, search on the web. So, yeah.
My question is, what are the special powers? I mean, do the press people have special powers? If so, what special powers do they have?
With respect to like, recording of like proceedings, or like generally you're saying?
Generally, both with respect to recording and general.
So right to free press is a constitutional right. So the press doesn't really have any restrictions as such when it comes to giving out information. Like,
No.
I mean,
I don't understand the question.
Sorry,
I believe you are a lawyer and you cannot be arrested easily, right? That is the power of a lawyer. Similarly, are there special powers for a person in the press?
What do you mean you can't be arrested easily?
No, it's not like that.
There is some sort of
no.
It's absolutely not like that. If I do something which is an offense and under the law, of course I'll be arrested. But
not easily, right? But lawyers cannot be arrested easily. They cannot be touched easily.
What is the definition of easy? Like you can't define easy, man. Like it's not how it is.
They can be arrested as easily as you and me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are you sure about that? Okay, I'll come up with something.
Exactly. Yeah, as easily as any other person.
If that was the case, right, I would probably carry around a card saying I'm a lawyer, so that like the people can't. There's no.
But you have to pass the law exam, right? You need to pass a law exam.
Look, no. Like Ashwin, if somebody's coming and arresting you, right, they're not checking your records. Okay, if you say you're a lawyer, if you think that lawyers have special immunity, then you can claim that you're a lawyer, and you can maybe you can show some superficial forged documents and get away with things. But
they will verify. The reason I'm telling you this is, let's say you're defending some VIP, or you are defending some person. If somebody wants that other VIP to lose, and if they arrest you, that VIP will most likely lose the case in the court. So that is why lawyers have some sort of special power. I don't know. I heard this from my neighbor. I will find out more about it and come to you. Janvi is not agreeing with me, but anyway.
No, I do not agree, because see, the only difference is that a lawyer will be more aware of his rights or her rights over somebody who's not well educated about laws. And that's exactly when we spoke about the awareness factor, that if the general public is also as aware as a lawyer would be in a situation like that, even he or she can assert his or her rights when it comes to saying that, okay, I mean, this is my right, I mean, this is something which I would want, like the protection that I would want, or I would want to have bail in this matter, because it's a bailable offense that you're registering me under. So there's nothing per se which is different. I mean, everybody is the same in the eyes of law. It's only the awareness factor which probably makes an arrest in terms of a lawyer a little more difficult than easy, or the powers need not be abused to that extent as when it comes to somebody who's like a non-lawyer person.
Yeah, but lawyers can go wherever they want, right? Without seeking permission or something.
What do you mean wherever they want to go?
I mean, to conduct investigation or something. I mean, a lawyer can go wherever he or she wants.
I quite didn't understand your question. I mean, are you saying that as a lawyer, a person would want to investigate the matter?
Let's say, I mean, you want to go inside an engineering college or something, or you want to go inside a police station, or you want to go inside the parliament to expose something. You can do that, right? Even if they can't block you, right? Something like
No,
that.
it's not like that. It's absolute. See, if you're actually trying to understand how our system works based on something that is shown on television, that's absolutely not like that. And in fact, I would want to tell you that no court is as dramatic as it looks like, or as it appears in on TV. Okay, it's absolutely not like that. It's quite a boring procedure that happens most times. Arguments are not that fancy. There is no dramatics involved, and there is, like, it's not like how they show in most TV series, and like, or in all these shows and films, that the lawyer is doing every other job, like of going and investigating, trying to expose people. No, we just basically defend our client. That's it. That's about it. That's our job.
Okay,
As a
okay.
defense lawyer, all that we need to do is, whatever material is available on the record, we have to go and argue that matter. Of course, the trial happens, we ask questions, there is cross examination that happens. All of that happens, but doesn't mean that every other matter that I go and start investigating on my own, that doesn't really happen that way. It's not
But
as fancy as it
But
looks.
you may have like private investigators who you sort of like, if your clients have enough like I guess like capital to do that, they can use private investigators to sort of like
To be very honest with you, investigation is purely done by the cops. Okay, and they submit the report. It's not like I can hire a private investigator, and then that, because that evidence also needs to be admissible in
Verifiable.
evidence. That's also is required. Okay, so uh, basically every other criminal trial. See, I mean, of course, we don't have enough time to discuss this at length. Otherwise, I would have. But every other trial in that sense happens on whatever the material is there on record. Okay, it's not like I can hire somebody, then try and find out something, and then of course, these things can happen if you want to adduce additional evidence in court. But the court is not going to say that, okay, man, I'm just getting some chit of paper and trying to show as evidence, and the court is going to take it on record. Doesn't happen that way.
What if like there's a video evidence or something like that?
For that also, now for video evidence also, you need to there is 65B certificate under the Indian Evidence Act, is something that you need to first produce before the court and seek leave of the court, that whether I can rely on this particular videography. And if the court finds it to be genuine, then the court will consider that. It's not like every other thing that you can just produce as evidence in court. Doesn't happen that way. I mean, a trial, if we can have someday a session on this, I can be in a better position to explain it, that how a trial really functions. But it's not something which is as dramatic as it looks like in the movies, for sure.
So basically, we are allowed to record a cop, right? We are allowed to record anybody in the street.
Yes, you are. But when it comes to anything which is sensitive enough, and if the cop asks you not to do so, then it's better a thing that you're not in a like, don't ever try and do something which can backfire and can invade somebody else's privacy. That's not something which is advisable, because see, everything has its own perks and its downside. So when you're saying that, yes, I can do that, yes, you can. But there is a downside to it, that somebody else can always say that you are trying and infringing someone's privacy also. So be ready to even have that as a consequence.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mahadev, you got your hand raised. Can you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would like to raise few points. First thing is, I am a citizen. I am aware of 4 pillars of democracy: executive, politics, press, and judiciary. So these executive police people are very close to me, and public, they are also close to me using TV channels or other newspapers. Press people, they publicize about themselves. How to make this judiciary close enough to the citizen? Let me take an example. We are discussing about judiciary today. Today only I am finding it interesting, and today it has become my activity for 1 hour. You said that practice we have to learn every day. How should I get awareness about judiciary? Means, what is your suggestion? What are you use? I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not it's
I
not
have
an
something
easy problem
similar.
to solve.
Yeah, I have something similar. Like we can directly interact with the police, we can directly interact with the members of the parliament, but why can't we interact with the judges themselves? Like that is also one question from my side.
Technically, we can, because personally, I'll put forth my experience that I was at a place where I was very near to a person who was adjudicating cases in the Jharkhand High Court, and I was able to meet him just like any other person. Of course, it was informal. Uh, Coming back to the issue at hand, do we actually think that increasing the remuneration and maybe bettering the judicial infrastructure can reduce the time that is allotted for any case to be adjudicated?
Maybe, like she said, creating more content about law is it finds conducive to me.
Yeah.
Ma'am, do you think how should we incorporate this faith in judiciary in our daily lives? Means we should not forget after this session. We should remember daily every week that these are the things happening. Daily I see in newspaper missing persons, divorce cases, and gender hijra. All these are social issues. I just turn blind eye to it and I do my work. How should I make myself included in the society? How should
Yeah,
I get awareness?
you know what, these kind of things, right? Like this is not like a kind of a problem that you can solve as a citizen or as a startup, or maybe even like, let's say that Janvi creates a YouTube channel like talking about these things, and she posts like Instagram shorts on all of these things, and that's not going to change things, guys. Like seriously, like I think that the solutions that we need to talk about are like, from a top down perspective, you need to have like certain amount of like accountability to which these law enforcement officers are held. First of all, in from my perspective, right, like when we like things like this, right, enforcing laws to implement cameras in all police stations, each actually there have been instances where I've gone to a police station to make a complaint and they ask me for a bribe to process the complaint because they don't have the resources. They'll actually like they'll make themselves look pitiable, so they'll like actually like give them something. It is kind of really it's embarrassing. And the thing is that these places are really underfunded. They don't have the necessary things that they're actually allocated on paper. Okay, and you can't expect them to do these things. Like actually, like I was saying, the police officers themselves are like victims of this ineffective system that we have. You can't solve these with like public awareness campaigns and stuff like that. You have to have top down measures to sort of like kind of like how they've imposed like right to education kind of thing, right, where there is like a right to like every child has a right to education, and they are making these things as a right, fundamental right. So there has to be something called fundamental right to justice. Right now we don't have that. Justice is a very selective process that is applied only in very special circumstances, and it's even bent in circumstances where if you're a person of favorable interest, right, you can actually like bend the law to your will. Look at what happened to the Pune Porsche case. The whole thing was a fucking joke. I mean, like, I'm sorry about the language, but yeah, it was a joke. And these things happen all the time. People with the money can get, it doesn't matter if people are aware of the laws or not, but there is the enforcement system does not have sufficient like tooth to actually like do these things. And people are like Janvi was talking about, there is not enough incentive for people to actually like go with what is the law. So that's why we need to have like a separate component to it. What I was saying earlier was the carrot and stick, right? We're talking about an insufficient carrot, but there is an absent stick, because like if, for example, if like cops are like in a violation of the law, they there must be a sufficient incentive for them to not commit crimes themselves, and that itself is like a weak point. If they don't fear the law themselves, how the hell are they going to follow the law, right? So that is what I would say is like the first thing that we need to implement a solution is like, I mean, obviously not, we can't do this ourselves, but I'm just saying as a nation, we have to like focus on enforcing laws on the enforcers of law. It's kind of like sounds odd, but That is
So
something that
how
we
can
need.
we make that insufficient into sufficient? Can we do anything?
What do you mean insufficient? What?
Insufficient resources, incentives provided to the executives.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, for example, if there is a bill passed that says like, that's trying to like enforce the right to justice, then that means that, they need to look at the numbers first of all. That's the reason why I listed out these statistics, because like the cops to citizens ratio, right? If this is probably like the lowest in the world. We have the lowest in the world because like our population is so high, and like if you look at the cops to citizens ratio in the US versus India, let me actually like pull this up.
In the meantime, just a very pragmatic issue that the cops in India face. If you go for a judicial hearing, then you need photocopies of all the papers that are involved in the case. And for each judicial hearing, you need at least about 1,000 to 2,000 rupees in just photocopies. The money which the executive does not provide the police officer. So what does the police officer do? He or she takes 5,000 from the party whose case is in hand, and then they take some money for themselves and do the work that is required for the judicial hearing. And it is not that they can take the 1,000 rupee cut on their own pockets, because each police officer has like thousands of cases that he deals with, and he does not get even paid enough to pay the bills of the photocopies that he has to do up due to the judicial hearing.
Exactly, yeah.
Raghav, may I say something? According to me, the first and foremost solution, according to my understanding, is police reforms.
Mhm.
Police reforms, and if we have enough reforms, then there is good scope that we can achieve the other solutions that you have in fact written down.
What
Now, of course,
kind
like
of
police reforms are like what we're talking about, but you need to be more specific about what you're talking about in terms
Yes,
of.
what I'm saying with respect to police reforms is I feel that there has to be a revision in the way that they're trained. Okay, there has to be better training given to the police. There has to be a revision of pay to the police. There has to be a better lifestyle that they are promised. Uh, you know, in fact, something which one time that I was discussing with someone, that there is a need of, I mean, I personally feel that we need to even consider that whether the way that the military and the army officials are, I mean, you don't see corruption in the military and in the army. The reason to that is because A, they are trained well, B, they are given better pay, C, their families get a better lifestyle. So if that the local police authorities are also given training and are promised those perks, okay, or similar perks, then the system can be cleaner, and it can be more efficient. That's my understanding of it. And once the investigation of an offense, or once that area is um in that sense clear and honest, then things can proceed. Because see, when anything happens, the investigation is something, or the first person to deal with the matter is the police. So I think police reforms will then help us to build the case and to make sure that justice is being served. So my understanding is that police reforms is something which has to be the first and foremost solution to this.
Adding to what
I mean, of
Janvi
course.
said, we need to establish police colonies just like we have the army camps, so that the police officers can be kind of safe, that in a safe headspace, that their families are safe when they are educating or making sure that the law and order situation is fine in the whole state or the city.
Yeah, Janvi, the army is not corrupt because there is no opportunity for them to take bribe or do something. I believe that is the only reason.
Correct. And that's the opportunity is basically that they don't get that opportunity only and only because of the space that they are in. Okay. And they say a lot of times that, the reason that army officials are better paid is because of the dangerous conditions that they live in. Let's face it, that even a cop in that sense lives in a dangerous condition, be it not on the border, but when it comes to being on that thin line of whether to actually ask for bribery or not, okay, or whether to commit bribery or not, that's also equally a dangerous line that they are also on. So
First of all, we need to
Also,
cross-check the
when-
salaries. What I meant is the policemen, they interact with the public and they deal with the public.
correct,
The army people, they do not deal with the public. Their sole job is to go to the front line
Correct.
and this thing.
correct,
So there is no opportunity for them to take bribe. If they had
Okay,
an opportunity,
there-
maybe they would
correct.
have
And
taken
that's why,
bribe.
and that's exactly
There
when I
are
said that
actually
if at all that
opportunities.
there are, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I need to address this because people actually think that the army has no opportunity to take bribe. They have the opportunity. They make sure that human trafficking is controlled. If you go to the poorest borders of India, Indo-Bangladesh border or Indo-Nepal border, Indo-Bhutan border, even some parts of Indo-Myanmar border beneath the whole Nagaland area, you can see how much of it is a place from where a lot of infiltration happens, a lot of illegal trafficking happens, and
I agree.
we are talking of about $1 billion, more than billions of dollars of trade that happens illegally through there, bypassing the whole customs and import-export systems that the state has in place.
Okay, Janvi, what is the salary of a typical policeman, like a constable, and what is the salary of
It's
a basic soldier?
absolutely meager. A constable doesn't even get enough money to make sure that, his entire family gets basic minimum resources also. If you're
What is
talking
the
about a
absolute
constable.
number? What is the absolute number?
You can Google these things, man. Like it's not like
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are
focus on these
available on
things.
the video. I think
Yeah.
it starts at
18,000 rupees
18,000.
something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's extremely meager.
And that of a soldier?
It's obviously in lakhs.
No. I don't believe this. Lakhs per month, you're telling.
Yes, of course.
No, not at
No,
all.
not all of them.
Not
I mean,
exactly
there are
lakhs,
like
but
various
like
ranks
3 lakhs to 10 lakhs per year. See,
per year. Yeah.
3 lakhs. It starts off from 3 lakhs.
No. Listen up. The dearness allowance, the travel allowance, the other perks that they get is way higher. And I can pull this data and I can actually share it with you all. Because see, I had myself appeared for the Judge Army General exam, okay? And back then to the JAG officer at the age of immediately, okay, you can appear for that exam immediately also after passing law school. And that time you get uh, 80,000 rupees plus the dearness allowance plus the travel allowance, etc., etc. So which goes beyond 1 lakh rupees. So I'm quite sure that it's way higher. It's way higher, and I can pull this data and I can share it.
there are other incentives that are not listed. There are army canteens. There are several organizational committees that take care of your child's education, their tuition fees. Almost more than 50% of your expenses is almost taken care by the army itself through unofficial channels and committees that are mostly headed by mostly by the wives of the CEOs of the whole company.
Okay, my whole point is there are policemen, let's say of higher ranks, who get more than the salary of the basic soldier, right? Do you think they don't take bribe? They also take bribe, right? I mean, policemen, like let's say commissioner or somewhere
Yes.
little lower than
Police,
that.
the job profile of a police officer is entirely different from military officer. I don't
Exactly.
think anything has to do with bribery. They don't military officers, they don't deal with citizens, right? I mean, in absolute sense, they have a structure, they have their own way of doing things, and they don't interact with common citizen on a day-to-day basis. So police job profile is absolutely, it's like uncomparable to military.
Exactly.
Okay, so we are like nearing. We usually like close it off at like 8:30. So we will try to close it in the next few minutes. But
One last thing I would like to add. I would like to add that in the field of technology, let's say you have video stored in the cloud or something, and use of AI. If you can add that. Like,
I don't. I mean, like I've seen you like recommend AI in a lot of situations, but actually, first of all, to apply AI, right, you need to have like a foundational infrastructure in place. We don't have any of those things in place, and we will. I mean, obviously, at that, in my perspective, like the AI is something that's like a cherry on top of a cake. There is no cake. You're not going to do anything with a cherry right now.
no, this is just a general solution you're going to propose to somebody else, right? Or you're going to take everything for yourself and you're going to
No,
implement
this
it.
is not about like me implementing this. First of all, nobody can implement this except with like complete coordination between the government and the legal system and everything. So this is not like the kind of problem where anybody, one person can implement it. But I'm saying like a lot of fundamental issues are there. I will add it. I will add the AI thing as well. But I'm just saying like the emphasis is more on like what is the highest priority.
Okay. One more thing I would like to add is videos recorded on the cloud or something like that, so that it doesn't get erased easily.
See, the other thing is like it's not about the storing in cloud, but because that opens up another like loophole of like security flaws. Because like if things are stored in the cloud, right, somebody can hack into the system.
That
And
goes for
there's
banking as well. That goes for banking as well.
no, that is there, but you need to have like sufficient education about these things for the people who are managing these things. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why actually a lot of the digitization of like legal proceedings were like not taken up because of that concern. I'm not sure if this is a very huge concern, but security is a matter of concern whenever you're implementing technology in like sensitive aspects of things. In banking, like in banking, the thing is that you're having like private players as well as like the RBI or something like that. So they already have the expertise in like having like a very efficient process. So they'll update things along with the technology, and they'll look into these things as well. But this yeah, we need to like have a special insight into the security aspect when we are enforcing these things. But I'll note it down. And the next steps, I'll just like put it down here.
Yeah, and in the meantime, for the people who think that the army does not deal with people or has no opportunity of taking bribes, they should look at gold smuggling cases from India to Bangladesh. And from very deep inside sources, I can tell you that more than half of the cases are not reported, out of which a majority of the cases are not taken up by the media.
Okay, these are very minor things, like less than 0.01% of the scenario compared to policemen.
Please look at the worth that the gold has. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to like establish the agenda for the next session. So we've listed out all the problems here, and next time when we come in, we are going to like sort of prioritize this, and also like look at like what is the first thing that we have to change, because like we've listed the things that we are come up with solutions. What are the one of the first things that we need to work on? And actually one of the things that I haven't listed as a problem here is that the separation, I guess, like there is no separation between politics and law enforcement, because like what I've noticed is that anytime there's a change in leadership, right, the way the law enforcement operates completely changes. It's almost like they are like an arm of the political establishment.
Also bureaucracy, I feel.
Specifics, please.
No, I'm saying that there is no separation between politics, bureaucracy, and law enforcement, actually, if you look at it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Raghav, I would like to suggest another solution for this. What about psychological evolution, like periodical psychological evolution of police?
Evaluation.
Yeah, sorry, evaluation. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, in what circumstances are you saying that people need to be evaluated for whether they are capable of like conducting their duties?
Yes. Within that protocol, they have to be psychological evaluation as well for the how you say, yeah, as you said, the capability of performing their duties.
I quite agree with Mahadev, what he's written on the chat, that, we should in fact consider incorporating the discussed basic constitutional principles in UG as a mandatory subject. It will be of some use, I feel.
I remember we studied Indian Constitution in the Bachelor of Engineering in Karnataka.
See, I have a problem with something like that because, like, first of all, the education infrastructure in this country is so bad, and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Like, most of the engineers graduating, they have no relation to engineering. It's like that. And if you add this on top of the existing, like, the dysfunctional education system, you're just like burdening like a dysfunctional system on top of things. I don't think it's going to be as
I
effective.
quite disagree with you about our educational system, but like, let's not get there, because according to my understanding, our educational system is quite, in that sense, it's a tougher system, but it makes you very, like, it makes you stand out globally. So
No,
I have a very different view on this
No,
somehow.
the only thing that I would say is that it emphasizes so much on knowledge and not the application of it. And
Okay,
a lot of
okay.
people, like, they are basically like, the only thing that you're testing in education is the retention of memory. That is the only aspect of
Okay.
intelligence that you're
Okay.
testing.
See, but I don't think that there's any other way to make people aware than to, kind of incorporate
but
these things in educational subjects. I don't really think, because you can try and make it, or you can try and increase awareness, but yes, if it has to be at the base level, there has to be something when it comes to education.
No, I have actually, I have a nonprofit that works exclusively on education, because I've struggled with the education system in this country for, like, as long as I can remember. But I would love to have a conversation, maybe off the call, like, talking about that. But let's focus on this thing. I will add it as one of the suggestions for the solutions, that we need to have mandatory education on law, constitutional.
This I proposed in school only, right? School curriculum. This is what I proposed, that list of 14 things.
What do you mean? 14 list of 14 things, what?
The list that I gave you, that we can have a debate session on these 14 things: mental health, diet, so many things. 14 things I gave it to you.
I'm not sure if I remember.
Law and philosophy were two of them. Last time we had a
Mr.
debate on
Raghav, I
this.
think mandatory education on current affairs related application of our constitutional rights.
Application of constitutional rights, legal rights, human rights,
including,
even. Honestly, like, people don't know about human rights.
Yes,
And
using current affairs.
And I'm going to say and current affairs, because, like, that's a very specific suggestion you're giving. Yeah, but obviously, like, no, if you're doing this, like, make it effective. You're saying that make it effective through educating through the current affairs. So yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do next is basically talk about prioritize the problems and come up with broad measures to solve these problems in a prioritized manner. And then we'll take it from there, like, so that we have like 3-4 sessions, right? So yeah, so we'll discuss the 4 sessions like that. But this was a very productive session. I'm actually glad that we had such a very engaging audience. So thanks a lot for being part of this in an interactive way. So we're going to catch up next Wednesday at 7 p.m. I hope we all join. Maybe, like, you can bring other people who would also be interested in something like this. And if there is something else that that comes up in your mind, maybe, like, make notes of it, and let's discuss it during the next call. And also, maybe you can also, like, put it up in the Vivada channel, where we have these, like, text discussions. So you can put it up there, and we can make a note of those things as well.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Raghav, what are you going to do with this? I mean, are you going to show it to the members of parliament, or what are you going to do with it?
Okay, I'll give you guys, like, an idea as to, like, what we actually do with this. So, like, if you go to our website, the debateclub.info, you can go to our YouTube channel. And what I do is that like last time we were discussing about the legal framework for drug regulation in India. So if you go to this, like the fourth video, right? Basically, like every topic has like four sessions. So if we, so for example, we last month we talked about like how to solve the unemployment crisis in India, and if you see here, right, this proposal is shared over here, and you can actually go here and have a look at this. And the reason, I mean, like we're just like documenting things, okay? So we are documenting things so that like it is a matter of like public knowledge. But obviously there is no, I'm not like doing anything immediately. My hope is that like we will eventually like find a way to do this at scale, and then like also like gather influence of like our activity, so that like then at some point down the line, if we make this a standard enough thing, we can actually get the influence necessary to enforce some of these things. Because right now I'm not in a position of influence that I can actually do something about these proposals. I'm just doing something on the very basic level that I can do as a normal citizen, that we are engaging in this kind of a conversation. That is the first step. So we'll eventually get to a point where we'll have sufficient influence to actually enforce some of these things. But right now we're not doing anything concrete to take it forward. But hopefully down the line we may have something. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.